I can definitely understand why so many people were excited for this season of Railgun. I mean, after episode 4, how it wraps up with basically the entire world, or at least Misaka's entire world, turned against her, forgotten memories, and the queen just taking the clones, not having any aid, it just is very clear that this could very well be the best arc of Railgun to date, should it go as far as I think it can go, and holy shit is the future bright with possibilities after the conclusion of episode 4. I am a huge sucker for any episode that gives you a good amount of time to feel at peace, to kind of decompress, see something cute, see something fun, not really stress, not really worry, and when it tries to bring up something that could make you worry, it immediately is resolved with just a misunderstanding. I like having a good half of an episode dedicated to just being at peace, feeling comfy, feeling happy with the story at hand, to then transitioning to the second half of an episode where everything becomes absolute chaos. And this episode did it flawlessly. A lot of times when you get that kind of like comfy atmosphere, you get it for a majority of the episode, and then they end you with a cliffhanger to say, oh, no, just kidding, it's actually going bad. So I really appreciate the pacing of this episode in a lot of ways the most this season, because the first half really was everything that Railgun represents in terms of its cute and slice of life side, to then go absolute insanity by the time it wraps up, and seeing how far the queen crossed the line. It's one thing to kind of like make it so she has like bodyguards and just people spying on her and things like that, manipulating the school, that's one thing, but literally erasing the memory of her from her best friends, like that's pretty much a Railgun on a rampage, and I am so excited to see how she's going to get out of this predicament, but also what that conversation and confrontation is going to look like between her and the queen. It's going to be something else. I definitely thought the idea of the build-up with the queen kind of manipulating memories, it's something that's very obvious, but for whatever reason, I wasn't expecting it in the moment, but in hindsight, I was like, how the hell did I not predict this? I mean, just as everything is happening here, where you're basically like, oh shit, she didn't return the uniform. Pretty standard thing, but for a clone who's pretty much driven by logic, it's kind of like a red flag there. And to see how Misaka was kind of like, basically doing her thing. She was using the cameras, tracking to figure out where she went. Oh shit, she's in an ambulance. And for whatever reason, it's probably just me, I was not expecting memory alteration. I was just kind of watching, I was like, I wonder what they're doing. I wonder if they're playing like, they obviously know something, but they're just trying to like play it off and maybe there'll be a fight here. Like, I truly was not expecting it for some odd reason. I was just completely forgetting, I guess because we haven't really seen the Queen's powers in action all that much, even though we got a glimpse of it in this season. Just to see that build up to realize that the reason they're saying, no, we went to the hospital is because their memories have been altered to say that. Like, that was such a shattering realization, because then you realize, oh shit, this episode's gonna go insane. Absolute insanity. I was like, the school's gonna turn against her, everything's gonna be horrible. And I like just seeing the build up to everything there, because it starts off, it's pretty bad, but it's not hopeless, right? You think to yourself, okay, the clone's taken, but I mean, most likely we can do something against that. But then when you see just, you know, you have the teachers and everything like that, it's like, okay, do you have like definitive proof that the Queen is doing anything? Well, I'd have to reveal the clones. And it's like, okay, you're kind of going to be alone here, but at the very least you have your friends, and then just completely ignoring the fact that, oh shit, no, they're probably going to get hurt too. I like that build up to really just shatter our expectations here, even though a lot of it's predictable, a lot of it's pretty much hinted at in previous adaptations of this universe, but still, it's like that build up and the wait between seasons, it just made me let my guard down and really appreciate this episode tenfold. I love this. I love the build up and the anxiety that the back half delivered, because usually this level of like worry you get over a 20-minute time frame, but we got this over a 10-minute time frame. The first 10 minutes were just so comfy and fun, and I think it really plays into what happened in the back half, because you let your guard down, you let yourself just feel at peace. You're looking at beautiful imagery and scenery, fun little interactions, Hsieh being horny as ever. It's like, it's pretty much Railgun at its safest, and then you get a Railgun at its most dangerous. And I'm really excited to see how Misaka is going to get out of this predicament, because in terms of like escaping her little spies, she probably can do that besides the one in her head, but even then I feel like she has the Railgun, so if she really has to go hostile, she probably can, but I doubt she'll want to do that as a first resort. That's more of a last resort sort of a situation. But I mean, when you're going up against someone who can literally manipulate the memories of the city as a whole, it's going to be hell. It absolutely is. And I think the thing I'm most excited about is the conclusion of this arc, to see what's going to happen between her and the Queen's relationship, and just the reasons for doing everything and things like that. I think there's a lot of possibilities for what they can do with this arc, and I think it's very clear why so many people were excited, saying like this, if done correctly, will be the best Railgun arc in the anime to date. And I completely understand why. I mean, now that the kind of a hostility, the confrontations are really starting to go, I think the momentum is really going to start chugging along and deliver something that we can't totally predict. And even if we can predict certain aspects, just based on the production really going all in the crucial moments, I think it's going to blow us the hell away. The first half, like I mentioned, was incredible. I loved it. I thought it was cute, and I like the whole idea of like the shadow metal and things like that. You know, you got Uiharu, you got Satan, you got them just kind of like playing goofballs, basically, just like going back to the scene of the crime, right? It's like, oh shit, it looks like a war zone, trying to find this shadow metal. And it all feels like, oh, it's just some dumb rumor. And then they build it up as like, oh shit, there might actually be something here. Nope, just kidding. It's actually just, you know, hey, we were just trying to get any hooligans from trying to get DNA from espers and things like that. I just love how they build up in that first half of the episode just to make it feel like maybe there is something more sinister going on. And of course, you have Uiharu pretty much kind of hacking into things, and obviously files are getting deleted from remote locations. So there is obviously something that they were onto, but in terms of the actual conflict, it was pretty much non-existent. It was cute scenes, it was comfy scenes, it was flirtatious scenes, and the moments where it's like, oh shit, something bad's gonna happen, it turned out to be a misunderstanding, and then you just have our girl Hsieh being like, I tried to warn you, but you didn't want to listen. It was pretty much Railgun at its safest, and that's what made the second half so insane, because when you compare the first 5 minutes of the episode to the last 5 minutes, it's night and day. It's cute and fun, maybe there's something a little sinister going on, and then by the end of the episode, you cross a line that should never be crossed, and you left one of the most dangerous characters in this city with no help in sight, kind of pushing her off the deep end. There was definitely some venomous looks towards her and just other characters. Like, there is a lot of possibilities for this season, I have to say, and I think the thing I'm most excited for, besides obviously just confrontation between Misaka and of course Misaki, I think that's going to be amazing, and just obviously where their relationship could go after this arc does conclude. But I think the thing I'm really excited for is to see in the coming episodes over the next few how she is going to fight back against basically the entire world, in her eyes, kind of turning against her. You can obviously find ways to basically make her just conflict-driven, kind of fighting her way out of it, which I expect we'll probably see some, but at the same time, that won't really solve many issues, but just make more issues for her. So I think she's going to have to go more stealth-based, and I'm just excited to see how she's going to interact with basically husks of former selves of all the students that she's known and friends that she's had. I think it's going to be interesting. I definitely think there'll be ways to break some of the mind control. I think that might be a big thing for her, maybe trying to go back to her friends, try to say, hey, you know, you're actually being manipulated, maybe showing proof that they are being manipulated. That's probably going to be a possibility as well. But I think there's a lot of ways to make this both action-based, but also just really character dialogue-based, where it's just pulling on your heartstrings, pulling on that adrenaline to just make you feel like you're excited and don't know where it wants to go. This episode, while it didn't have a lot of flash, it kind of delivered a lot in terms of its just character interactions overall. And even though there was a couple of shots throughout the episode where I thought it was kind of a little underwhelming visually, as if maybe they struggled on the episode in certain ways, I just still felt like this was probably the best episode of the season to date. I mean, obviously, because it is starting to get the momentum going, you're starting to see the actual story play out, not just kind of fun slice of life festival activities, which I have been enjoying a hell of a lot, as I've said countless times in previous reviews. There definitely is a lot of like gags and moments throughout this season that have been very relevant in prior Railgun episodes and seasons. Like, I mean, there's something about the whole Shirai and Misaka dynamic of the thirst level that continues to find new ways to elevate and become even more thirsty than we've ever seen, or just the pervertedness and flirtatiousness and kind of goofball kind of jokester personas that we see with Uiharu and Satan. I think even though they're very much the same types of things we've seen before, I think it's nice to have those like basic but very familiar character interactions between our central four. It's something that continues to make you feel at ease, as if you can always enjoy Railgun even if it's doing something different with its main story. There's this element of familiarity that just continues to make you feel comfy, as if, yeah, this is Railgun as I know it, so even if we have this whole like mind mass manipulation going on in the background, or now the foreground after we've seen the conclusion of this episode, it's nice to just have something that, even though it's not technically doing anything different, it just is something that Railgun fans enjoy. I mean, you can't get into the third season and not enjoy the relationships and just some of the familiar jokes that you see between these characters. Like, there's no way you got to this point in the anime and not enjoy it. So I'm still enjoying, though, seeing some people say, oh, these are the same jokes that we've seen time and time again, but it's like, that's kind of their core, like, little quirk, that core little gimmick that kind of makes their whole dynamic so fun and feel like there's a deeper connection than just some schoolyard friends. And then to just see how that eases you into the more darker themes of the episode, it's just a really interesting balance that I continue to enjoy them every time they pop them up, even if they aren't changing the formula. It just feels like that familiar element that we desperately need, so the new content doesn't overwhelm us in the slightest, which I'm really digging. I think this episode, for getting the momentum going while also just using slice of life and basicness, not only to its advantage, but also to just decompress and let the viewer let their guards down. This episode just had the tightest pacing of the season to date, and just the possibility for the future is nearly endless. I think we're going to be in for a real damn treat. I'm loving this season, of course, but what did everyone think, either for fans of the source material, anime originals like myself, where do you think it's going to go? Theories and speculations, no spoilers, please and thank you. Let me know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care, and have a good one.